WWE has seen several high-profile names turn both babyface and heel so far in 2025. With just a few months left of the year, could we see several high-profile stars turn from being heels into babyfaces? We're going to let you know 5 names that could be set for a switch to the good side in this countdown video. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling, and in today's countdown video, we're going to be talking about 5 stars that could be set to switch from being heels to baby faces in the near future. Now, of course, as I mentioned in the intro of this video, so far this year, we've seen several high-profile stars, maybe if you include the likes of John Cena, turn heel and then turn back to being a babyface. Meanwhile, we've seen stars turn into babyfaces and become some of the most popular names on the rosters, and others turn heel and revitalize their careers. So could we see several high-profile names turn from bad guys to good guys in the near future? We're going to get into 5 names that could happen with, beginning with Liv Morgan. Now, of course, this is dependent on just when Liv Morgan is going to be back from injury. Liv Morgan had a massive year, or really a massive 12 months, shall we say, in WWE, holding the WWE Women's World Championship for the vast majority of that time, aligning with the Judgment Day, aligning with Dirty Dominic Mysterio, feuding with Rhea Ripley over and over and over again, forming or reforming the tag team with Raquel Rodriguez, winning the Women's Tag Team Championship on multiple occasions. She was seemingly set to feud with Nikki Bella heading into WWE Evolution over the summer, but of course that didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Because Liv Morgan suffered a shoulder injury, and this was also at a time in which Morgan was she'd just come back from having time off because she was filming her scenes for a film in Japan, which is expected to get a lot of buzz when it does come out. It's considered to be a major spot landed for her in a film that a lot of people wanted to be a part of. So she was really front and center. She was arguably as big as she's ever been in WWE, and then she had this injury, right? She suffered a shoulder injury, specifically a separated shoulder. And she's had quite a few shoulder injuries in the past, for both shoulders, that is. It was suffered during a match against, I believe it was Kairi Sane on an episode of WWE Monday Night Raw on June 16th, 2025. It required surgery for her left shoulder, which she's currently recovering and rehabilitating. It's been suggested that maybe early 2026 could be a target for a return to the ring, but just because that's a return to the ring, that doesn't mean she can't return to WWE programming, of course. That's also worth pointing out, because obviously when it comes to Liv Morgan, there's a lot of confusion about how she might feel about just how things are going right now in the Judgment Day. As I mentioned, when she was just getting going on WWE TV before she suffered this injury, there was this feeling of, is the Judgment Day being set up to turn on her? There was clashes between her and Finn Balor. In her absence, we've seen Roxanne Perez be added to the Judgment Day. And actually, Roxanne Perez's addition to the Judgment Day was just happening around the time that Liv Morgan sustained her injury. Now, we've seen Finn Balor maybe try and put Roxanne Perez into the group to kind of cozy up to Dirty Dom. And maybe Dirty Dom, who's had a wandering eye before when it comes to actually being, tied up with Liv Morgan in the first place and dropping Rhea Ripley for Liv Morgan. Maybe he has a wandering eye again, this time to Roxanne Perez. Maybe Liv Morgan comes back and says, no, I'm not going to stand for this. Actually, I'm not going to allow myself to be embarrassed by Finn Balor, by Roxanne Perez, by Dominic Mysterio. And actually, I don't trust Dirty Dom. I don't trust Raquel Rodriguez because she suddenly became a tag team partner with Roxanne Perez. I don't trust Finn Balor. I don't trust anyone in the Judgment Day, and actually I'm going to do everything by myself. I don't need any backup. I don't need any faction. I don't need any tag team partner. I just need Liv. And maybe Liv Morgan goes on a revenge tour, except instead of it being Rhea Ripley that's on her revenge tour, it's every single member of the Judgment Day. So whenever we do see Liv Morgan return back to television, perhaps it's not as the heel that she was in the Judgment Day. Perhaps it's as a babyface, and she goes after Raquel. She goes after Roxanne. She goes after Dirty Dom. She goes after Finn Balor. I could see that maybe being a possibility. So don't be shocked if when Liv Morgan does come back from her shoulder injury, she's actually a babyface instead of being a heel. Next up, what about Carmelo Hayes? And there's been so much discussion, hasn't there, about Carmelo Hayes and him being called up to the main roster, is he being used as well as he could? Of course, when he was in WWE NXT, I mean, he really was the top guy on that brand. He was the face of the guy. He was him. And the storyline between himself and Trick Williams went on for so long, and it was just, many people point out just to what a fantastic job Shawn Michaels and the NXT creative team did when it comes to booking Carmelo Hayes. And really, ever since he's come up to the main roster, it's felt like Triple H and his creative team really hasn't known what to do with him. He was called up on night one of the WWE draft in April of 2024. He was the 3rd overall draft pick, so he felt like a big deal. But really, ever since then, the most thing of substance that he's done on the main roster is he did win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal before WrestleMania this year, which some people are actually seeing as, something of a curse. It's the side of someone not being used as well as they could be. Now, I mean, before that, he was involved in a rivalry with Andrade where they had great matches on SmackDown. Andrade's now gone from WWE because it just goes to show that they really just put together to have matches. There wasn't really much story that was being told there. And now he's involved in a tag team with The Miz, Mellow Dope Miz, where you're trying to figure out who's using who. Is The Miz using Carmelo Hayes to stay relevant? Is Carmelo Hayes actually using The Miz without The Miz knowing? We don't really know. But there's this general feeling, isn't there, that this could and probably should be better. There could be more here. Carmelo Hayes should be used better. And maybe that's by turning into a babyface. I mean, eventually, if you break free from the clutches of The Miz, one would think that means you're turning into a babyface, considering The Miz is the perennial heel in WWE. So maybe it's a case of eventually Carmelo Hayes says enough's enough when it comes to The Miz. I'm tired of you riding my coattails. I don't need you. I was a huge star in NXT. Now I can be a big star on the main roster. And they split up, and that gets Carmelo Hayes over as a babyface. Not that he really needs to get that over as a babyface, because he's already very, very popular and just could be used better. But you feel like Carmelo Hayes, the money, him being a babyface, him being a top talent in WWE, that's where it should be. So don't be too shocked if in the future Carmelo Hayes, eventually, because talent should always rise to the top, even if it is in a bad gimmick or a bad tag team with The Miz. Carmelo Hayes is a babyface. Hopefully then he moves up the card. Now, before we move on to the next name on this countdown list, a reminder, this video is brought to you in collaboration with all of our great affiliates. That includes NordVPN. You can see right there. You'll also see it in the video description below. It'll be pinned in the comment section as well. You can get up to 77% off plus 3 months extra if you're in the United States if you use our QR code or the link in the video description. It's a great way to support the channel, and it's also a great way to save yourself some money, folks, because we're talking about WWE here. A lot of people confused right now about how much money it's going to cost to get to different streaming platforms. Now WWE main roster PLEs are on ESPN in the United States. And there's been a lot of confusion about, is that going to cost them more money? Well, what you can do is you can watch all of your WWE content as part of your Netflix subscription. All you have to do is get a VPN if you're in the US, change your location to an international territory like here in the UK, where we get all of our WWE content through Netflix. And then you can watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, main roster PLEs, NXT PLEs, archive content, and you can watch Saturday Night's Main Event for free on YouTube. Today it's announced that John Cena's WWE retirement match is going to be taking place at Saturday Night's Main Event in Washington in December. Over here in the UK, we watch that for free. You don't even need to go on Peacock, which is the only place you'll be able to watch it now since they've been moved from NBC. So get NordVPN today, change your location, save yourself some money, and support the channel in the process. Your support is really much appreciated. Next up for a babyface turn, Austin Theory. This is another one that we're going to have to wait until Theory comes back from injury. We don't really know what's going on that much with Austin Theory. Austin Theory has been sidelined from WWE due to an undisclosed injury. Now, he has been removed from the company's internal active roster. It was confirmed by reports in August 2025, and it was actually mentioned on screen by his former tag team partner, Grayson Waller. Now, while the exact nature and the timeline of the injury are not public, he is listed among other injured talents, and the injury has effectively ended his partnership with Waller in their tag team A-Town Down Under. Now, when it comes to this, again, we don't know the nature of the injury, so we don't know when he's going to be coming back or anything like that, but there has been, for the longest time, teases of dissension, teases of miscommunication, teases of a breakup happening with A-Town Down Under. So one would think this injury has probably just sped up the storyline plans when it comes to that. In Austin Theory's absence, Grayson Waller has been affiliated with the New Day. He's kind of been their unofficial third member. So you feel like whenever Austin Theory is cleared to come back, whenever his injury troubles are behind him and he's cleared to come back to WWE in-ring action, most likely he would be feuding with Grayson Waller. And if he's feuding with Grayson Waller, that makes him a babyface. Now, once again, when it comes to Austin Theory, there's been this discussion and debate of, is he being used properly by Triple H and his creative team? People point to when Vince McMahon was in charge of WWE Creative, Austin Theory was getting pushed very, very hard, won Money in the Bank, United States champion, involved in featured matches at WrestleMania, defeated John Cena in the opening match of WrestleMania 39. He was paired with Mr. McMahon on WWE television. Once Triple H came into creative power in WWE, it felt like Austin Theory was slowly declining. Yes, he was the United States champion, and he actually cashed in his briefcase to try and go after the United States Championship in a move that was critically panned by WWE. But others have pointed out when it comes to Theory, look, he's still got plenty of time on his side. He's still only 28 years old, and he's got the look. He can talk. Maybe he doesn't have the in-ring ability that people are looking for, but one would think that he can make a lot of money for WWE, and perhaps whilst he's done most of his work as a heel during his time in WWE, maybe it is as a babyface that he can really break through, and Triple H and his creative team can actually see star potential or see talent in Theory. So once he comes back, the logical step would be for him to be feuding with Grayson Waller and I guess the New Day by proxy. They're all currently heels right now, so Theory coming back, one would think he's probably going to be a babyface, and maybe it's the beginning of a new lease of life for him in World Wrestling Entertainment. Time will only tell, but again, this one is very dependent on just when we see the former United States champion back on WWE television. Next up, big Bronson Reed. Now, I know what you'll say. You go, oh, and he's part of the Vision, which is the top heel faction on WWE Monday Night Raw. He's aligned with Paul Heyman. He's aligned with Bron Breakker. He's aligned with the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins and Rollins' wife, now part of the Vision, Women's Intercontinental Champion Becky Lynch. Bronson Reed isn't turning babyface. Well, my response to that would be, someone will eventually in that faction, because you look at how this is going to go. Many people pointed out the similarities between the Vision and Evolution, and I didn't buy too much in that. But certainly one thing you can say is this faction, the sort of aim and objective of it feels like it's to get particularly Bron Breakker over and sort of set him up as to be truly the next big thing of WWE and the next big face of WWE. But Bronson Reed, is about getting him over as well. Seth Rollins, he's a made man. Paul Heyman, certainly a made man. Becky Lynch, a made woman. And whilst maybe the top priority is to get Bron Breakker to a point where he is ready to be world champion and challenge for world championships, I think it's also to get Bronson Reed over as a top-notch monster. And if you're looking at how the group's going to go, it has been reported that Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman are likely to spin off coming out of this faction. And maybe they do a bit of a dry run and they have Bronson Reed spin off first. Perhaps you could have a situation where the first person to break away is Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed goes up against the Vision. Eventually, the Vision is victorious in beating Bronson Reed, but it's Reed who over time is talking to his former tag team partner in Bron Breakker by that point and say, look, you need to get away, you can be a babyface, you should be a good guy, and eventually you get to a point where Bron Breakker faces Seth Rollins, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and then he's the face of Monday Night Raw moving forward, and you've got your new face of the company to supersede Cody Rhodes when the time comes. But in order for that all to work out, you're going to have Bronson Reed to maybe be kicked out first. So I wouldn't be too shocked if at some point in the future, either Bronson Reed says, I've had enough of being the hired muscle for the Vision, I'm doing my own thing, or maybe Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman send a message and they turn on Bronson Reed and say, nope, enough's enough, and they kick him to the curb, and that leads to a match and maybe a feud for the World Heavyweight Championship. I could see that at some point in the future too. And finally, Chad Gable, another name that we're waiting to come back from injury. Of course, it was reported back in July that Gable was on the injury shelf. There wasn't a lot of knowledge at the time about what specifically the injury was, but Gable actually later confirmed it in an injury at the end of July. He said, quote, "I got a little injury to my rotator cuff, but what it did do is buy me some time off the road to be home with my family and do stuff like this. Come to a baseball game on Sunday, which I never usually get to do." So he's got a torn rotator cuff. As far as how long he's going to be out for, no one really knows. Shoulders are funny. You can be back in 6 weeks, 6 months, or maybe 12 months. It really depends on the severity of it, how you rehab, what the surgery is like, how invasive the surgery was. So there's loads of different aspects for how long he could be out for. The expectation is it might be quite some time. But interestingly, a really interesting thing that WWE has been able to do, despite Chad Gable's injury, is keep going the El Grande Americano storyline. Of course, it was Gable, spoiler, that was under the mask of El Grande Americano. And his portrayal of El Grande Americano is totally different to the portrayal that Ludwig Kaiser is currently doing. Kaiser is maybe embracing the Mexican Lucha Libre heritage a bit more. He's making a lot of appearances for AAA, and he's dressed up in a Mexican flag as opposed to the United States flag. He's actually a very popular babyface in AAA and sings his way to the ring. And they've expanded the character even further because now they've added in, of course, El Grande, Rhea, and El Grande, and the other El Grande, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. They've added to that faction. So it's become a whole thing now. Now, obviously, when Chad Gable was written off television, he was attacked by Penta, who attacked his arm, and that was a way to write him off. You saw Ludwig Kaiser in the background, and then the next week, El Grande Americano, the new one, appears, and it's like, oh, it was never Chad Gable, or it was. I think what they could do is have a situation where when Chad Gable comes back, he admits it. He goes, look, it was me. I was El Grande Americano. It was me. Someone else is framing me. Someone else it's under the mask, but it should be me. I was the original El Grande Americano. So maybe Gable becomes a babyface. Now, you could argue because of the popularity that Ludwig Kaiser's version of El Grande Americano is generating, maybe that's the babyface there and Gable still comes back as the whining heel. I guess that's entirely possible. But it really does depend, I guess, about where the El Grande Americano character is and where Gable's faction is at that point as well. Time will only tell, but Gable, maybe he comes back as a babyface. He's been very successful as one in the past. So there you go, guys. There are 5 possible babyface turns that could happen in WWE in the near future. What are your thoughts on the list? What names are more likely than others? Are there names that I've left out in the list? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as we're getting closer and closer. You can see right there to our goal of 25K in 2025. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in, as always, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.